Alright, everyone. So, for those of you who have watched the Mr. Olympia 2017, probably you're going to be supporting Big Ramy because that's what I've seen in the comment sections. That's what I've seen just generally on the internet. People are kind of sick of seeing Phil Heath win and they want to see Big Ramy win. Now, this video is going to be a quick one. All I'm going to do is I'm going to explain why Phil Heath will probably win and why all these bodybuilding sort of internet figures or not internet figures but bodybuilding figures like Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto, and basically the judges at the Mr. Olympia competition are gonna pick Phil probably. Here's why. Unfortunately, they're not too criticizing. They're not too harsh on the bubble gut that Phil clearly had. What they're seeing is that Phil is definitely more poppy. So the back of it, especially his back, it pops more. His chest pops more, and his shoulders pop a bit more. They come at you a bit more, which is actually true. I don't think anyone who knows about bodybuilding would deny that. But then what they are not mentioning, obviously everyone knows Big Ramy is bigger. So you could give 1 point to Phil for being more full, tiny bit more full, and just like giving that 3D effect. And then you could give 1 point to Ramy, Big Ramy, for having just the mass, just absolutely out angling, not even out angling, just dwarfing Phil Heath. So that's 1 point each. Then we could go to how shredded they are. Now, I would say it's pretty even, although I would say in terms of the hamstrings, Phil, I think he just edges it. He does. But he just edges it, remember that, because I'll come back to that. He just edges it, because Big Ramy is shredded, okay? Quad separation is there, the back is there, the Christmas tree is pretty much there. He's shredded. Now, here's something we have to mention. The big bubble, double, trouble, triple gut bonanza. The gut, the stomach distension of Phil Heath. You see, when I mentioned that Phil Heath is a bit more shredded, so you give a bit of a point to Phil. But when I say that Phil Heath, that Ramy, his stomach is flat, and Phil Heath's is not a bit distended, it's freaking huge, and it's coming out like it's about to explode. Okay, and who was it that mentioned that? Even Nick Strength and Power, which I like his channel, but even he said sometimes Phil's gut was coming out. No, I have to disagree with that. It was out more than it was in. It was distended more than it was flat. And to see someone the size of Big Ramy with that huge mass, I mean, his stomach is even flatter than Dorian's. And the reason I say even Dorian is because even though Dorian was known to have a bit of a distended gut to the end of the 90s, at the end of the day, he was still early on, meaning compared to Ronnie Coleman, his gut was actually not that bad. So to see someone like Big Ramy with that flat stomach, those nice abs, you can't deny that. You can't deny that. People say, well, Phil's body flows better. Whatever. I mean, I think that it's pretty even, but the fact it's kind of like having gyno. The way I see it is like you can't have that at the elite level. So it's the same with the bubble gut. It can't be acceptable no matter how much better everything else is. You're more shredded, you're more full, you're more, when you have that huge gut. And another thing I have to mention, last point, when Ronnie Coleman had the huge gut, he did have it. However, his shoulders, his back, everything is huge. Whereas Phil Heath, he's not wide. So when he has that huge gut, it's really, it just shows even more than it did on Ronnie Coleman. So for me, it's unacceptable. And I obviously want Ramy to win, but I wouldn't scream politics if he doesn't, because I can understand why. But I do think that gut is unacceptable. So just explaining how the people think and why people are saying Phil should win, even though his gut is just ridiculous and Ramy is like huge compared to him. So that's my take on it, and enjoy the show tonight.